There's something about New York City that makes so many people dream of living here. And I get it. I was one of those people, and that's why I ended up here. But just like anywhere else in the world, there are pros and cons that you need to weigh to see if it really is the place for you. And today, we're gonna explore those. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah and I make videos about New York City and my life living here. And today's video is all about the pros and the cons of living in New York City. Please give this video a like for me, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. The first pro is that you get to be in the center of everything. There's endless opportunity here for things to do and you will never be bored. Theaters, museums, bars, restaurants, even nature with all our amazing parks, zoos, botanical gardens, beaches. There is something for everybody no matter what kind of entertainment you're into, and much of it is top notch. The fact that you can get on the train for a few minutes, go see a Tony Award-winning actor in a Broadway show, and then come home at the end of the night that easily is not something to be taken for granted. However, having access to all of these wonderful things means that we pay a premium for it, which brings me to my first con on the list, which I'm sure you were expecting. It's really expensive to live here, especially right now. Between January 2021 and January 2022, rent prices increased by 33%. But it's not just rent. Groceries cost more, restaurants cost more, healthcare costs more, things like getting an eye exam or going to the doctor costs more. Income taxes are very high. There's a lot to consider besides just the rent, and unfortunately, it is very expensive. Another pro though is that there are a ton of career opportunities here. No matter what industry you work in, there is going to be something for you, and the salaries are likely to be higher than a similar position elsewhere. Whether that's going to be enough to make up for the insane cost of living here is going to depend on your specific circumstances though, so do the math yourself. With all this opportunity though comes a ton of competition. There are over 8 million people living in New York City, and that's not even counting the people in the surrounding towns and suburbs who are going to be competing for the same jobs you are. New York also attracts the best of the best, so you're going to be competing against some tough competition. You don't need a car here. New York is one of very few US cities where you can get away without having a car very, very easily. The subway will get you pretty much anywhere you need to go, and if it doesn't, there's probably a bus that will. The city is also super walkable. If I never wanted to leave my neighborhood ever again, I could probably get away with it. I can walk to grocery stores, restaurants, entertainment venues, doctor's offices, really about anything I need. That being said, if you do for some reason need a car, you drive a lot for work, you leave the city frequently, you have kids, whatever it may be, having a car here can be extremely difficult. Parking and insurance are very expensive, and it can also just be a massive hassle to deal with. I actually made a whole video on if having a car in New York City is worth it or not, featuring my opinion, the opinions of some other New York YouTubers, and some data. So if you're interested in that, I will put a card to it here and a link in the description. One of the biggest pros of living here, in my opinion, is the diversity. New York City is one of the most diverse cities in the world, and that is one of my absolute favorite things about living here. There are hundreds of languages spoken here, and there are a ton of ethnic enclaves that when you go visit them, it feels like you're stepping into another country. Getting to have conversations with people from so many different backgrounds, try their foods, experience little bits of their culture, and just listen and learn about their experiences is an invaluable way to learn and grow as a person. Another somewhat related pro is the food. With all that diversity comes any kind of cuisine you could possibly want. I have tried more new foods in the past 3 years living in New York City than in my entire life prior to that. Mediterranean food, Ethiopian food, anything you can imagine is available here. And there's baby music class going on directly behind me. As I mentioned earlier, there are over 8 million people living in New York City, and that means dealing with crowds. She says, as there are absolutely no people behind her. For real though, dealing with crowds becomes a part of daily life, and it is one of my least favorite things about living here. Not even just like when you go to Times Square and you're just doing some touristing and you expect it and it's fine, but just living your day-to-day life. Like the other day, I made the mistake of going to Trader Joe's on a Sunday. Let me tell you, it is every man for himself in there. The store was packed, the shelves were barren, and I left confused, upset, and with only about half of my grocery list. On the flip side of that though, I find the anonymity and the fact that nobody really cares what you're doing to be a major pro. As a result of there being so many people here and so many different types of people here, nobody really cares what you're doing. And as someone from a very small town where everyone knows everyone, I find this very freeing. Nobody cares what you're doing, nobody cares where you're going, what you're wearing, or whose grandkid you're hanging out with, or something like that. New York City is dirty. According to Time Out magazine, New York ranks in the top 3 dirtiest cities in the world, right behind Rome and Bangkok. A lot of the subway stations are horribly run down. There's not great smells in there. You see trash on the street a lot. It's just something that we really need to do better on. And to close this video off with one huge pro, there is just nowhere else in the world like it. The energy here in the city is just electric and addictive, and once you've lived here a while, nowhere else can compare. The pros completely outweigh the cons for me, and I'm just so happy to get to live here. Thanks so much for watching this video. I also have another pro and con video on my channel about living specifically in my neighborhood of downtown Brooklyn, so I'll put a card to that here and a link in the description if that's something you're interested in too. If you enjoyed the video, please tap that like button for me. It really does help me out. Subscribe to my channel for new videos like this one every single Saturday, and I will see you next time. Con, noise.